In today's episode of the Pathwing Presents podcast, I have a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Nicholas Teddy, and he's hailing over as the head of growth at Goody. And at Goody, they do one thing, and they do that really well. They send the perfect gift. No address needed is what the website is saying. And today we want to learn about how the team is basically, provide their customers the ability to find curated gifts on any occasion, really, and give them only with an email or phone number. And that sounds super enticing, super interesting, and also a couple of layers in the business model that we want to explore today. So, Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So maybe for everybody who hasn't heard about Goody, give us a 360 overview. What is the business all about in your own words?
Yeah, absolutely. So Goody is both a consumer business and a sort of B2B business. We basically, Goody's secret sauce is that we allow people to send gifts as easily as you could send like a text message or an email. You think about sending a gift today, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You could not know someone's shipping address, which is annoying. You have to like ask them for their shipping address. You could struggle to find a good gift. You could also get someone a gift that they don't want. And so the way Goody enables people to send gifts is really unique. When you send a Goody, we have this like curated collection of gifts. It's about 300 brands, and we really strive to only kind of curate the best brands, like brands that are trendy, things that we sort of quality test. We make sure that they're every gift in our collection is delightful, whether it's a birthday gift or a work anniversary gift or any client appreciation gifts. We always strive to have more trendy brands, like I don't know if you've used like Theragun, like that's a good one that we have. It's the kind of like vibrating massage gun. We have Levain Bakery, which is a really trendy bakery in New York City that ships nationwide. Really amazing candles. So we strive to like have these kind of higher quality gifts on our platform. So we take a lot of the legwork out of having to find a gift that will be memorable or feel unique. And then when you send a gift on Goody, the person who's receiving it, all you need to know is their email address or their phone number, because the person receiving it actually enters that information. They provide their own shipping address when they select the gift. And they can also do things like select the size or the color if you're sending them clothing, or select the flavor if you're sending them cookies, that kind of thing. So we allow a lot of kind of customization by the user, take that out of the gifter's kind of responsibilities. And then I think the other really interesting thing about Goody that there aren't really any other comparisons to this is the recipient can swap the gift if they want to. So when you send a gift on Goody, if you send someone, say, like a bottle of tequila and then they don't drink, they could swap it for, a candle. Or if they prefer rosé, they could swap it for a bottle of rosé. So what we find is actually about 50% of the time people do swap gifts when they're given the option, which is kind of crazy. It means that about half the time when you're trying to send someone a gift, it's like not something they even want. Yeah, which is but as it's sort of like the sender, it's great because you just know that whatever you send, I all the time I'm sending people gifts, and then I notice that they swap it for other things, and it's always like a really good feeling because you know that the gift you're sending is something that someone actually wants. So yeah, the company is pretty young. We started in late 2020. We are a Series A company. We are basically, initially it was actually a mobile app. Like there is this amazing Goody's mobile app is really great because you can kind of track everything in one place. You can, send texts via the app and gift people via the app. But I think around like May of last year, we realized that the business applications for the kind of gifting flow and curated collection that we created, the business applications were, maybe even, higher upside than just the consumer ones, because business people send a lot of gifts and they send a lot of terrible gifts is something that we've noticed. I think everybody knows those like really tacky, like corporate gifts, like the wicker baskets with paper grass and this like kind of made in China, like impersonal stuff that I think we've all gotten from an employer or a vendor at one point or another. And so Goody's really stands apart. We try to, just like I said, have really curated gifts, and then with our business platform, you can send like 1,000 gifts at the same time. You can basically insert personalization tokens so that you can send a gift to like everyone on your list for the holidays, for example, if you're doing holiday gifts. And those same kind of value propositions of like people being able to swap their gifts. The fact that I don't think I mentioned this, but you only pay when the gift is actually accepted. So you don't have to like worry about the gift going into a black hole. All those sorts of things, they really work even better for people sending business gifts. So we've seen an amazing product market fit with people that send business gifts. So, there's a lot of people involved in that, but, EAs, like executive assistants, send a lot of business gifts. salespeople, client account managers, HR professionals. All are involved in gifting in one form or another. So we've really leaned into the enterprise side of the business. I'm trying to acquire more and more business customers, and it's been interesting. And then as we've gotten more advanced with our business platform, we've started to monetize it. So we've added more and more advanced features that we can actually charge companies for in terms of like software subscription. Goody's always been like a free platform. It is a freemium service. You can totally just start gifting right away, but we are adding more advanced features that we're actually charging customers for. So for example, if you're an HR professional and you're worried about employee engagement, you can basically, with Goody, you can integrate your HR platform and then start sending automated gifts to your employees for work anniversaries or their birthdays, just using the HR data, which kind of like pipes into Goody. So as we get more advanced features, like, tools that salespeople can use, tools that HR professionals can use, we're trying to monetize that and like sort of build a freemium software business on top of the sort of core gifting business that we started out with.
That makes a whole lot of sense. But by what you're describing, I would even start to argue you guys are helping the environment if not 50% of the gifts are being just thrown out and not being used anymore. Well,
about 50% are being swapped, and then we see some, but again, some people don't accept their gifts or they prefer not to get the gift, which again, it's more efficient for the person sending the gift because you don't have to pay for it if someone doesn't want it.
Yeah, no, I was referring prior to using Goody, right? If the half of their gifts, if you're swapping now 50%, probably prior 50% you didn't want to use and they land unused somewhere, but were produced, right?
1,000%. And you can also, on our gift collection, we really try to find companies that are sustainable. So you can actually even sort for gift brands that have sustainability as one of their kind of core values. I personally do that a lot. You can send people even like a collection of like, here are sustainable gifts that you can choose from. So yeah, we like to think that we're helping with our environmental impact with that.
Yeah, so if we talk about the B2B use case, you already alluded to HR being one use case. Who else within the organizations do you see is picking up the solution?
Yeah, it's really, our addressable market on the business side is anyone that sends business gifts, which is a pretty broad swath of people. A lot of executives are involved in gifting at one point or another, but EAs, like administrative professionals, they send a lot of gifts. They're usually the people that are responsible for the holiday gifts at a company. It usually falls on the shoulders of either HR or EAs. Marketers, especially like field marketers, send a lot of business gifts. Salespeople, either for prospecting, trying to get a meeting, or also for client appreciation, they send a lot of gifts as well. So it really is pretty much anyone. We find it's pretty much anyone in an organization that's either in an HR administrative role or has like external relationships with business partners, which is, as you can see, it's probably most people in a business actually.
Yeah, makes sense. How do these folks hear about Goody? Like, is it that they, already got a gift prior themselves, or is there another journey that they go through? What do you see as the typical customer journey?
Yeah, I'd say it's actually fairly diverse, but that's a big one that you just mentioned, sort of flywheel of people receiving a gift and then becoming gift senders themselves. That's a metric that we are always like trying to optimize because it's key for, organic acquisition is obviously something that any company, needs to be biased towards. So we're definitely always trying to improve that conversion rate of people receiving a gift and then sending a gift. And we're really, focused on that one. Pretty much that's like an evergreen kind of focus area. But in terms of other acquisition channels, Google search is a big one for us right now. We or SEM specifically, we're building up more and more of our SEO kind of footprint. But that, like I said, we're a pretty young company and SEO takes some time. So long game, we're bullish about SEO. But for now, SEM is definitely probably the most important paid acquisition channel. We've had some success with LinkedIn. We've actually, I think the biggest channel though is probably just referrals. It's like word of mouth. It's people within a company telling their colleagues about Goody. Or people is like the biggest channel that we see.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Super interesting. And when you were maybe a small follow-up on the SEM, obviously, the goods in itself, there's obviously high competition online for e-commerce goods. Like, do you think about it from a different angle? Like, is this like B2B related kind of gifting words, or is there sort of, what are you excited about? Which type of angle essentially in the SEM world?
Yeah, we've tried both. We tried we've actually experimented with shopping ads, and we've also tried keywords that signal like more high lifetime value intent, business gifting keywords. So people looking for things like gifts for employees or employee recognition gifts, that sort of thing. And what we found is that the sort of high intent or sort of high lifetime value, high intent keywords consistently are better for us. When it comes to like having a conventional kind of e-commerce go-to-market of just like, for example, like running shopping ads, we haven't seen as much success with that because it doesn't, it's hard with like shopping ads or conventional kind of e-commerce to suss out who is a business gifter that has this like high LTV. And so, what we found with that is that it's like, then you're competing with Amazon, then you're competing with every other e-commerce platform in the world. And we're just, a small startup and it's a more difficult terrain for us. Whereas when we are trying to like get into this niche of business gifts and we can find keywords that signal that someone has, business gifting intent, that's where we do really well. And that's basically where we focus most of our SEM and SEO energy.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, how do you think about the website? Like, what role does the website play? Because in a way, it is a marketplace. In a way, it's a B2B addressable website. Like, what role does it play in the customer journey?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's all of the above. I think the website is so important. I come from kind of the web optimization background, so I'm always like very web focused. I think the website is first and foremost, a introduction to how Goody works and what we, as you can tell, it's a little bit different. It requires some explanation. So we think of it as a product marketing channel. But we as a company are really focused on being a self-service freemium company. There's a lot of business gifting companies out there that are much more like request a demo to get started. It's kind of like behind a paywall. You have to sign a $20,000 contract to use them. There's opaque kind of annual pricing. That's kind of that actually is sort of the default model for most business gifting software in the market today. We want to be much more open, much more self-service, because we think that's a more modern alternative. We think that's what people actually want. So we are definitely biased. We think of the website as it's a way to explain how Goody works. And then it's also an entry point into our self-service sort of gifting platform where we can, acquire users self-service, get them onto Goody, get them onboarded. And then to your point as well, it's also a conventional e-commerce site in some sense. It's the merchandising. It's about showing off all the brands, having amazing product photography, great product descriptions and gift collections, making our gifts easily navigable. So you can make sure, we have thousands of gifts on our platform, making sure that people can find the right ones, that we're surfacing the right ones. So it's kind of a combination of, conventional product marketing plus a really important like lead gen and sort of self-service entry point. Plus it's a, like an e-commerce site, which is an interesting kind of set of challenges for us.
Very cool. Good. Now, so we talked a lot about what you guys are doing. We talked about the channels that you guys are leveraging. I would love to learn a little bit about yourself as we approaching the end of the interview. And I would have some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
Sure. Hope so.
Very good. What is the last book that you read or the book that you would recommend anybody working in growth?
Honestly, I tend to use my reading for more like I read for pleasure. I'm reading Wolf Hall. It's about Henry the VIII. It's a novel. So I tend to read books as like an escapist thing. And then for growth and learning about growth, I tend to actually do that on the web.
Yep, makes sense. What is one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Self-service, making our self-service, a robust channel with really great like in-app onboarding, great lifecycle marketing, minimizing the, as much human capital as we need to make our customers successful. And also, it's what customers want to self-service most of the time.
Mm-hmm. And for the very last question, I'd love to do a little bit of time travel. Go back to the days of Northwestern University, if you allow. We do a bit of time travel. Now you're heading out of formal education into the world of marketing. You've been obviously with LinkedIn even a long time. You've been working in the sort of media for a bit. What would be the one advice that you would give yourself as a journey?
I think it would be to know that there's this is all new, like digital marketing, the digital landscape, all of this is new, and to not be intimidated by sort of the, by being like a new kind of entrant to this world. I think just having, confidence to pursue whatever you're interested in. And knowing that, we're all new at this in some sense, and there's no reason to ever feel intimidated by digital marketing, even though I feel like a lot of people are kind of view it with some degree of intimidation, or they feel a little bit mystified by it because there's so much to keep up with. There's so much, it's not the kind of thing you learn about in college for the most part, at least in the US. And to the extent that there is formal education about it, it's often not as up to date as what you learn in business. So I think my advice would just be to to dive in, to not feel intimidated, and to go for whatever you want.
Very cool. Nick, thanks for joining Pathway Presents today.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.